There are bran cakes in the glove compartment. Oh.
One of the few advantages of being a horror buff is that thanks to constant exposure therapy to all things that freak people out, I have developed nerves of steel. My soul has hardened to the point of being nearly dead from the neck up, and my natural instincts towards danger are at an alarmingly low level. Now, this doesn't mean I don't jump or yell at loud noises. I can be startled, and I often am, but I wouldn't say that I get truly scared very often, especially not when consuming horror media. And jokes aside, that's not because I'm some tough guy. It's because, like with anything, I've acclimated myself to the tropes and the thought processes of someone who isn't just consuming scary stuff, but someone who creates it. See, there's only so many ways to scare someone, and when you see enough of these techniques used, eventually they become predictable. So I have an intuition now when it comes to scares. And the same can be said about a horror game I played once about 13 years ago, where I experienced one of the most iconic jump scare moments, the same moment that also happens to be one of my favorites in indie horror history. The jump scare in question comes from a game called Cry of Fear. Originally a mod for the extremely popular Steam game Half-Life, Cry of Fear hit the indie horror scene as a true gem and a standalone game in 2012. Now, for educational purposes, I'm about to show you the infamous jump scare in question, and here it is. Did that one get you? Probably not, right? Yet I still tout it as one of the best jump scares of all time. Here's why. There's a reason why a countless number of old school Let's Players back in 2013 got by this scare. And when I faced this jump scare on my playthrough, I needed a new change of pants, a glass of warm milk, and a long, long nap immediately after. Yes, it's a big, stupid face that pops up with a loud scream after walking down a very dark, seemingly endless hallway with doors in it that only open after taking a picture. This feels like something akin to those stupid maze game jump scares that were so popular in the mid-2000s, but it's not. And the reason why lies in the context surrounding this one moment, the plot of Cry of Fear. The story of this psychological horror game follows Simon, a disenfranchised 19-year-old from Stockholm, Sweden. The game takes us through a confusing array of horrifying monstrosities, bizarre encounters, touching on the serious effects of mental illness, thoughts of self-harm, and the degrading consequences of depression and anxiety run rampant. The result of all this, of course, is a game that has an untrustworthy narrator who leaves us guessing what is reality and what is all in Simon's mind. And that's a familiar horror that anyone with a troubled mind could understand. Wandering through the graffiti-soaked streets of Stockholm, armed only with a cell phone and a pocket knife, feels like a familiar setting, especially for those of us who grew up in a more urban environment. It's a clash of the familiar and the unfamiliar, what psychologists who study the sources of our fear call the uncanny. Now, this term was originally coined by famed neurologist Sigmund Freud. Freud used the term unheimlich to describe something that feels familiar yet is just different enough to be strange, and perhaps even threatening. It's the same principle behind why we think animatronics and mannequins are creepy, or the fascination we may have with liminal spaces. Simon traipses through familiar environments, apartment buildings, subway stations, suburban streets, and yet his only encounters are with every horrifying creature he sees. No real friends or real sense of normalcy in sight, which leaves us with an uneasy disposition. The streets are uncannily empty, only the occasional threat to keep Simon company. And this is all early on in the game too, so that confusion hits soon, and it hits hard. This tension builds and builds throughout the first act until, wham, we're hit with big, ugly face thing. And when we get to this point, we know something is coming. The suspense is there, but we don't know what, because nothing in the game so far has been so easy to predict. The game gets us distracted with a repetitive task, the opening of doors using the camera, letting our guard down. Big mistake, says the game devs. Bam! Jumpscare. What we have here is a predictable scare in a very unpredictable setting, and that's the genius behind it. If this were just some mediocre horror game, the scare would have been placed in a more predictable setting, giving us a very obvious, very unimpressive scare. But because it's hiding in Cry of Fear's plot, we're completely blindsided by it. The scare was classic, albeit a bit tropey, and an obvious use of subversion that would have been cheap and lackluster on its own. Yet we were distracted and enthralled by what the game was showing us up to this point. And for many of us, the payoff was a sudden need of a new pair of pants.